Well, good evening, my lovelies, and welcome back. I'm Camilla, otherwise known as the Queen of Constantia, and welcome to my secret throne room where I record my reviews of other Real Housewives shows. I am an OG of the Real Housewives of Cape Town, so I have quite fun reviewing other shows. If you hasn't visited me before, just to let you know that I work from notes in my little notebook, and so I do look down occasionally, please forgive me, but otherwise I forget some details along the way. I'm not getting any younger and I don't want to miss anything out, so I might look down occasionally. So let's move on and start with my review of episode 7 of The Real Housewives of Durban, the Drakensberg trip. Now, I was rather amused because, of course, Showmax has subtitles and the show starts with serene music. Now, this made me laugh. And I'll tell you why. I was approaching this episode with great trepidation. In fact, I've such trepidation that I almost didn't want to watch. It was a sort of morbid curiosity that made me watch, because you could just feel all the tension coming into it from last week's episode. Things were definitely going to go wrong. And lo and behold, of course, we start with a prayer session at Nonku's house. She's got together with the Queen, who is always such an indomitable character. And there is the Queen covered, from head to foot in gold sequins. And she, Nonku says to her, she looks lovely. And the Queen, in her usual fashion, says, I know, never short of self-esteem, the Queen. And then Jojo and Ruan arrive and the candles are lit and they are about to set into a prayer for peace for the upcoming trip. But then lo and behold, we switch over to Sarisha's house. And there we meet Sarisha, who has invited over her new alliance friends, being Slee and Maria, and of course Annie. Well, of course Annie's been part of Sarisha's alliance for a long time, but now Sarisha has roped in Slee and Maria. This is her new alliance, which I've been saying from the very, very beginning. First episode, watch this space, and it is indeed coming to pass. So there we have the four of them, and Sarisha is doing a Reiki session. She's invited a lady called Jay over again to cleanse them, to cleanse their spirits, so they're all feeling that they've got to cleanse themselves. This is very interesting, this dynamic, before they go in their factions to meet one another. So when I first saw the beginning of Nonku's scene, I was thinking, well, what's this all about? What was that scene for? Until we swapped over to Sarisha's, and I'm thinking, this is fascinating. They're now each having sort of cleansing sessions, one against the other, and interesting, going to see how this plays out, and where exactly is this negative energy lying. I know what I think, but I'm not going to say what I think. I'm going to leave it to you, the viewers, to work it out. There may be a little hints along the way, but anyway, so it's the factions, yes. And everybody arrives at Sarisha's and they're all going, oh, you look wonderful, you look lovely, you look fantastic. These gushing sessions, oh God. The famous Housewives gushing sessions, which are invariably not true, I find, because people normally go on their confessionals afterwards and say, well, I didn't think much of that outfit, or I'm not sure what I think of that wig, or whatever. Yeah, so they always make me laugh when people do that. And then air kiss like crazy. So Slee is looking a little bit unsure about this Reiki session, and it doesn't surprise me because it's quite at odds with her Christianity. Aligning of the chakras, then, melding that in with her very deep Christian faith. She announces she's going to burp a lot. Okay, apparently this is like a lot of negative energy is going to come up with her for her, and she's going to burp a lot. So perhaps she's done these sessions before. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, but what I want to know is there's one person here who is not being cleansed. Probably the one who needs it the most, and that is Sunay. Now we know she's coming on the trip, but no one's cleansing her. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you think that one or other of your groups should have made sure that she was cleansed before the trip? Tut, 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 tut. Aha. Anyway, so we now go split screen. We've got Nonku's lot doing their prayer group, the Christian prayer on the one side, and we've got Sarisha's lot doing their Reiki session on the other side with a split screen so we can see all of them at it. It's really, really rather hilarious. And then Maria refers to it all as being mumbo jumbo, but no sooner has she done that than Jay says to Maria that she senses that Maria has imposter syndrome. Well, goodness gracious me, because I think Jay is right on the money. I think Maria does have imposter syndrome, and I think Maria is desperately trying to get rid of her imposter syndrome by elevating herself into Sarisha's circle. And I think that that is what she has wanted to do ever since she came onto Housewives. I think that has been her primary aim. And I think that she has been willing to sacrifice her long friendship with Jojo and Ruan right from the very beginning if she could get into Sarisha's inner circle. I'm quite certain of this. Let's see how things unfold in future episodes. But watch this space, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm quite sure that Maria, look how keen she was to get together with Sarisha. And she's desperately wants to be accepted by the coolest girl in the school in her eyes. And because she has imposter syndrome, she's desperate to be accepted. She feels like the odd one out at school, and she wants to be in with the cool girls. And for her, Sarisha is the coolest girl in the school. And I have now understood that she comes from an Indian heritage, changed her name when she married a Greek man. There is such a lot of unspoken stuff there. And I think she is going to try and leapfrog over Jojo and Ruan and their friendship and into Sarisha's inner circle and not look with a backward glance. She's going to move and not look behind her with any loyalty at all, but we shall see. But that's the way things are looking to me at the moment. So imposter syndrome was a very interesting thing for Jay to say at that moment, even though Maria had just said that she believed it was mumbo jumbo. I found that fascinating. So then they're all leaving for the trip, and we see Jojo and Ruan traveling together. And this brings me on to another interesting thing, because Ruan actually says, then confesses that his bond with Jojo is tighter than his bond with Maria. And of course, we've seen Ruan previously with Jojo when he came into the show. This time he came into the show with Maria, and Maria said that Ruan was also her husband as well as being Jojo's husband, but he is now confirming for us that his friendship with Jojo is closer than it is with Maria. So I thought so. So once again, let's see how close Maria's loyalty. Now remember, we heard Maria stand in a barn with Annie and say, I am a very loyal friend and I will take a bullet for my friends. A couple of episodes ago. I don't believe her. Let's see if she is a very loyal friend to Jojo and to Ruan, who she's known for 6 years. Let's see. Let's see how this is going to unfold. But judging by her current behavior, I don't think so. I'm really going to be interested to see how the next few episodes unfold. But anyway, moving on. These are just my prophecies, which I'm not allowed to have. Okay, so Maria has a lady who works for her called Maria. That must cause a bit of confusion around the house. I mean, I can imagine my husband, Maria, yes, good God. Anyway, yes. And I have to say, Maria, we both have incredibly bad taste in luggage because you have lime green luggage and so do I. I have the identical lime green luggage. And I spotted it because I've never seen anyone else who's got the same lurid lime green luggage. What I can say, though, is you can always spot it at the airport. So congratulations. Bad taste all round. I love having my bad taste luggage. Okay, so Maria says she's never traveled on the back end. Sorry, I'm going backwards. Maria says she's never traveled in a bus. I'm going to stop and say, I had never traveled on the back end of a bus until this. So there you go. The back end of a bus. I finally got to look like one. Yeah. She's riding with Sine, her bestie. That must be fun. How lovely to spend a couple of hours with Sine. But you see, I think Sine will suck up to Maria, so the ride will probably be fun anyway. Okay, so moving on. The Sarisha Annie Slee alliance. Oh, Sarisha, you worked out how to properly get Slee on your side. Put her in a Rolls Royce and then put her into a helicopter. That's the way to do it. Yes, so you do. Well, Sarisha, this is a very good way to get Slee on your team. It's a shame you didn't include Maria, however, because I have no doubt that would have bought her eternal devotion had you done that. I must say that Maria is going to be so jelly when she finds out that you didn't include her. You're going to have to try a little harder, Maria, next time. Anyway, so we have the arrival of Jojo and Ruan at the Drakensberg resort, and I'm loving the gifts, I'm loving the view, it all looks absolutely amazing. And there's a thing though. Why do I feel such a sense of impending doom? There's just a mood over this episode. That's just what I'm feeling. And it just isn't lifting. You can just tell that it's not going to end happily. And so Jojo and Ruan are out on the balcony, and of course the helicopter arrives and they see Sarisha, Slee and Annie arriving. And of course, not unexpected. And you know Jojo, I mean, Jojo could have afforded to have flown there with a helicopter if she'd wanted to, but she goes in a bus and, you know, I mean, what's the diffs? I don't think Jojo really cares. I don't think it bothers her that much. Last season, Sarisha flew her. I'm not getting big anger vibes, although I do find it odd that Jojo doesn't go down to greet them. That is a bit of a snub. And Jojo, if you don't go down to greet, then you mustn't be surprised if you get a little bit snubbed in return. It was an odd thing that you didn't go down to greet. Strange. If you're hosting, it is odd. So, but what does happen, of course, when Jojo doesn't go down to greet is that Slee accidentally gets handed Sane's room key, and then they find out that Sane is coming. At which point they pull a very amusing stunt, which I loved, and they get her room moved so that she's not anywhere near them. I would have done exactly the same thing. So now Sane is banished to the ground floor and far away from them. Good on you, girls. I would have done the same thing. And you're all sleeping close together. Fantastic. And Jojo wasn't there to greet, so you were able to pull that number without any interference, which actually meant that it all worked out rather well for you, didn't it? Now, Jojo, of course, feels that she's actually got to, she knows Annie's arrived, but she pretends that she kind of doesn't. And so she phones Annie on her cell phone. She goes, oh, have you arrived? Something I need to tell you. And of course, she's terrified because she thinks that she's going to have to explain to Annie that Sane is there. Of course, Annie knows, but Annie lets her sort of think for a moment that she doesn't know. And then Annie walks in the room and makes this curious comment about, have you been drinking? Now, they keep on doing this, kind of setting Jojo up for, are you drinking? I mean, this is just weird stuff. And later in the episode, I will comment, but this is just weird. Jojo's not a drinker. She never has been a drinker. She's been known to have the odd drink every now and then. And it's just a weird storyline that they keep on kind of trying to drill into and pick on, and then she has to get all defensive. No, that's Rue's glass and he finished his and that's mine, and it's not even really worth getting defensive or discussing. But anyway, Annie says, yes, we know Sane is here. They accidentally gave Slee her room key, and sorry, a little bit of my non-alcoholic. Accidentally gave Slee her room key and we had her moved, and yes, we know. So panic over. Jojo's a bit relieved that they know, and we move on from there. Anyway, so dinner starts. Annie, I have to say, you look absolutely gorgeous at this dinner. And then Jojo says she's got gifts for everyone, and the gifts are rolled out. And then we see Slee's confessional, in which she throws some really unnecessary shade about Annie's gifts. They come out on a luggage trolley with a curtain over. Now, once the curtain comes off, we see that there are actually a lot of them, and that they're bags of clothes and boxes of other things, and they're hung on hangers. And, to be so ungracious as to say that you felt that because it was covered with a curtain, it was over dramatic, when you've actually been given really abundant largesse gifts, is ungracious. Firstly, I didn't hear a big thank you for what were clearly pretty amazing gifts. That's number one. And number two, I felt that the curtain cover was actually quite appropriate, considering the large number of gifts that were on there that could have actually fallen off that luggage trolley while it was being wheeled. So the cover actually kept them in place. And I just thought it was extremely unnecessary shade. But we get it, Slee. Despite your protestations, you don't like Jojo. So why don't you just say, I don't like this woman. I can't stand her. I never have. I came on the show not liking her. I don't like her. And I won't ever like anything she does. And that's okay. Be open about it, because we can all handle that. Instead of, oh, it was over dramatic and she shouldn't have put the curtain on and unnecessary. Just go for it. Go for the jugular. Speak your truth. That would be great if you could actually do it, So, now this was interesting. Okay, so Mbali, of course, is conspicuous by her absence. I will refer again to what I said in my last review, which is that I don't think that Mbali is even in Durban. I think Mbali is in Joburg. I think Mbali is doing performance work in Johannesburg. And I don't think that she lives in Durban a lot of the time. I think she is flying to Durban to record episodes of Real Housewives occasionally, and I don't think that she should be a full-time member of this cast. I don't know what she is doing in the main cast photos, and I don't know what she's doing in the opening credits, because she should be a friend of the show. She shouldn't be a full-time member of this cast. It's just really weird that she's there. At some point, she seems to have fallen by the wayside, and the editor didn't remember to remove her from the opening credits. It's weird. So, there's not a lot happening at this dinner because nobody wants to talk because Sané's there. And so they're all just skirting around the obvious, which is that Sané is sitting there. What I will say, which is really funny, is that everybody actually gets to eat their dinner, because normally what happens on Housewives is that most meals turn into a large fight, at which point nobody gets to eat their food. So you normally go to bed hungry, or you land up having to order room service and eat at about midnight. So it's quite fun to see everybody tucking in this particular dinner. Lovely, yes, so they do. They seem to have a really nice meal, but nothing happens because Sano's there, hilarious. And so they all eat, unusual, and then they all go to sleep. Wow. And in the morning, we see Jojo on the phone to Calvin, and he says that because it's always him tagging along with the ladies, he thinks he'd like to put something together for the guys, the chaps, the significant others. And so he's going to take them all to a fight night. Jojo says, great, as long as he's not in the fight night. And then she says, can the ladies tag along with the guys? And he says yes, and so it looks like it's all going to go ahead. That sounds nice. Hope it does. And then we see the ladies gathering by the pool and, you know, sort of showing off their various bikini bodies or lack of bikini bodies or whatever. It doesn't matter. We're all ladies and we're all of varying ages and shapes, and some of us are not quite vain enough to mention how divine we think our bikini bodies are, and some of us are vain enough to mention that, and I say no names. But the point is this: we should be able to be free and wear whatever we like, and I think everybody looks gorgeous. But anyway, everybody's gathering by the pool, and then Annie makes the most funny comment on her confessionals about everybody gathering at the pool and how they're all air kissing, and how air kissing is just so pseudo and very kind of, she says, we're not in France, which is true because of French. And I agree with you, Annie. It is. It's like just fake pseudo and just get over yourselves. I agree. I've mentioned this so many times in the past. Jojo comes down later, and there, of course, Maria is sitting with Sarisha, Annie, and Slee, and it finally dawns on Jojo that Maria has aligned herself with him. Gosh, Jojo, that's taken you a long time to work out. Whew. Anyway, so then Jojo moves across to where Ruan is sitting with Sané. Yeah. And then Maria does move across, I think because she wants to find out what's happening with Sané. And then Nonku flies in. And Jojo is terribly excited, of course, that Nonku's arrived. So she gets all giddy like a little schoolgirl and goes running down, and Ruan goes running down with her. Sané goes running down, which is a little bit weird. And the rest of them, wow, in an extraordinary act of rudeness, all pack up, grab their bags. Sarisha, basically orders Maria to fetch her bag from the other side of the pool, and that she should push off with them, and they all leave the pool area. They just go. Wow. I mean, I was actually, wow. That's rude. So now we really have the battle lines drawn. In this moment, the battle lines are clearly drawn, and Maria has run off with the Sarisha clique. So we've got Annie, Maria, Sarisha, Slee on the one side, and we have Nonku and Jojo on the other, with Ruan, who is just Jojo's friend, so he can't be considered to be on that side. It's just Nonku and Jojo. And then we have Sané somewhere in the middle. And who knows, I think she's just going to stir between everyone. So it's extremely outbalanced, this battle line. It's 2 against 4, and Mbali is absent. So she's not going to feature. 2 against 4, Mbali absent. I predict that the side with 4 on are going to attack the side with 2 on and do their damnedest. And I said at the very beginning, episode 1, that Sarisha is going for Nonku this season. And I don't know why. She's changed. She's not the lovely, gracious, sweet Sarisha we always saw before. She's decided to become the villain this season. And she's gathered her troops. She's formed her alliance. And she is now going to go full on for Nonku from this point on. That is what I believe we're going to see, with her threesome aligned behind her. And she's going to go for her and attempt to chew her up and spit her out. And the only ally that Nonku will have is Jojo. And then they've got their friendship with Ruan. Then, I mean, I can't see Sane aligning with Nonku and Annie. I doubt it. She will just align with whoever she's aligning with in the moment because she doesn't care. She's just a stirrer. So the battle lines are now drawn. In this moment, as they left, when Nonku's helicopter arrived, that was it. That is what we're going to see for the rest of the season. Mark my words. So, Jojo, Ruan, and Nonku in the pool. I'm going to be very brief. Jojo is just referring to the little Barb comments that people are making about her having picked up drinking because of Nonku's influence, which is very odd and silly. They are just Barb comments. Annie came in and said, you know, the room smells of alcohol and, you know, have you been drinking? Unnecessary, barbed, and it's because of the alliance. You're wearing too much makeup. It's because of the alliance. So these are the kind of things that they can expect to see. But Nonku's a fighter, so she's going to come back in with her stuff, and that'll be interesting to see. So then we get to the second dinner. Now, okay, so it begins with a massive fight about who flew up with who. And of course, Nonku starts this. I hesitate to say that I think she might be a little bit tipsy at the start of this dinner, but I'm not sure that it matters because she's not completely out of order. And she's holding her own. That's number one. And number two, she's completely coherent and her thoughts are in order. Now, the thing that she is offended about in terms of what she's got to say to Sarisha here is, forgive me, is why did Sarisha not invite Jojo? I'm sorry, I have a cat who has just landed. Say hello. A cat has landed. The thing that she is annoyed about is why did Sarisha, seeing that it was Jojo's function, why did Sarisha not contact Jojo and invite Jojo to join her on the flight? And Sarisha says, no, in fact, Nonku, it was you that I wanted to invite to fly up with me. And I phoned the helicopter company to book the flight. And when I phoned the helicopter company to book the flight, I discovered that you had in fact booked a helicopter to fly up the following day. So when I learned that you were flying up the following day, I offered your seat to Slee. I am calling BS, Sarisha. I don't think you found out that Nonku was flying up the following day because at the first dinner, Jojo said, Nonku's not here because she's coming up tomorrow. And you, Sarisha, did not say, oh, yes, I know. She's coming up in a helicopter tomorrow. I found out when I called the helicopter company. You didn't say that. Number one. Number two is you didn't then say, oh, well, I'll call Jojo because I've known her for ages, okay? That's another thing. But I'm absolutely calling BS on the fact that you called to book a helicopter and somebody told you that somebody else had made a booking for the following night. What the hell would that have, or the following day? They wouldn't tell you that. Apart from anything else, provision of access to information means that they're not going to tell you who's booked a flight to the same destination to the following day. It wouldn't be any of your business. They're not going to tell you. So, no, I'm calling BS. I think you always invited Slee, and you were trying to wriggle out of why you hadn't invited Jojo, because it made you look weird that you had invited Slee, who you haven't known for very long, over Jojo, who was the hostess. And you didn't want to say that. It would have just been better if you'd said, actually, I don't like Jojo anymore, and I didn't want to invite her, so I invited Slee. That would have been the truth. And Jojo actually said that. Why don't you just say that you don't like me and I didn't want to invite you along? I agree. And then you also then, Sarisha, tried to turn it around and then say that Jojo had primed Nonku to call you out. In other words, that Nonku was fighting Jojo's battles for her. Now, I don't think actually that Jojo cared whether you arrived in a helicopter with or without her, because she's got enough money to book a helicopter if she wants for herself. I don't think it actually bothered her that she took a drive to the Drakensberg with Ruan, which she was completely happy about. They would have had plenty to chat about on the way. And as I said, they've got plenty of money to fly wherever they want and whenever they wish. Absolutely, she and Calvin. So I don't think that was an issue. So for you to suddenly gaslight, and that's what that was, massive gaslighting, when you suddenly rounded on Jojo and went, you're the one who's putting Nonku up to this, she's fighting your battles, when she was just sitting there quietly at the end of the table, and then accuse her of just sitting there quietly because she's wanting to pretend to be the perfect hostess. So you're doing very well, Sarisha. You're certainly bringing it. You're getting the assignment. You are bringing the drama. You're bringing the villain. You're doing it. You're doing the gaslighting. You're doing very well. But I'm not buying the BS about Nonku and you knowing that she was flying in the next day. So, you got Slee in as a substitute. What utter rot. Pull the other one. It's got bells on it, darling. So, moving on. Yeah, so, yes, I wanted to say, you've been pitting yourself, Sarisha, against Nonku since the very, very beginning. Season 1. Yeah. And it's obvious that why you wouldn't invite Jojo on a flight, and Jojo wouldn't expect you to. Why would you invite Nonku on a flight? You've been pitting yourself against her all of this season. So you're not going to invite Nonku, and you're not going to invite Jojo, because Jojo is Nonku's friend, and they are the other side of the alliance. You guys have just walked off from the pool. You want nothing to do with either of them. So don't tell fibbery doos. It's not nice. Bad, bad, bad. Yes. Okay. So now, I said Jojo didn't ask Sarisha why she wasn't on the flight because she didn't care. It's Nonku who is bothered. And I said it's because Nonku is beginning to see the truth of this alliance at last. Let's hope so. Right. And then suddenly Rue gets it in the neck from Sarisha. What did I say about Wicked Stepmother in my last review? She's doing it again. The Wicked Stepmother thing. Looking in the mirror and suddenly rounding on unsuspecting people. He's sitting in the middle of a tennis match, going like this and like this and like this, and he's hearing and he's thinking and he's nodding and trying to take it all in and nodding at the various points as he hears them and remaining completely neutral. This is just crazy. So there's actually no reason for Sarisha to do this to Rue, except, again, as part of the alliance that has now made itself absolutely clear. And she sees that Rue is aligned with Jojo and Nonku, so she's going to quickly have a go at him and try and take him down. There's no reason to do it whatsoever. Now, Maria suddenly puts her all in. Nonku tells her to shut up. Well, that doesn't go down well. And then Nonku turns her attentions to Sane. Maria said she invited Sane to her party because they all made assumptions. Now, based on the article, now this is the article about the hitman. Well, it wasn't an article. There was a lot more than an article. There were interviews, there were YouTube references. It was a lot more than that. But anyway, they all made assumptions. Annie immediately says that the ladies are too ready to trust Sane. Annie, I agree with you. Annie says, you've got a problem that I sleep with my husband, ma'am. And Sane says, do you want me to go back where you come from and speak about your man is there on the streets as a loser? Now, this brings me to something very interesting that I'm going to make another video about. I find it very interesting that this very week, when this very episode has aired, all of a sudden, there are rumors all over YouTube and all over the internet that Annie's husband is playing away with not one, but 2 women. Yes, and it would look like those rumors are generated by none other than Sane. Now, isn't it interesting that it correlates with this comment? Do you want me to go back where you come from and speak about your man is there on the streets as a loser? Right. So it looks like Sane might be wreaking her revenge just in time for this episode to come out. I will be making another short video about this matter. What a coincidence. Check out my follow-up vid that I will put up in the next few days. Annie says Sane has no ethics and is a walking troll. I have a strong suspicion that Annie is exactly on the money with this one. But we shall see as the episodes unfold and we get towards the end of this season. Now we move on to next week's preview, and the only reason I mention this is that the first part of next week's preview shows Nonku and Slee together trying to patch things up. And all I can say is I am horrified because I have seen Slee over and over and over again saying to us that she is not Nonku's friend. She never wants to be Nonku's friend. She wants nothing to do with her. So why are the 2 of them together again, raking over these old coals? It's getting boring. But what can we do but wait and watch and see? The rest of the preview looked rather exciting. It looks as if there are more dramatics to come in the Drakensberg. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Good night, my lovelies. Sleep tight. Please like. Please follow me and subscribe. And I shall see you next week. Love you lots. Night, night. Bye.